The voters have spoken. Donald Trump will return to the White House for a second term. Good afternoon to you. I'm Jeff Hogan.
And I'm Renee Chu. Thanks for joining us. Just moments before our newscast, we learned that Vice President Kamala Harris is expected to concede during a speech at 4 p.m.
Trump received 51% of the vote here in North Carolina, while Kamala Harris received just under 48%. Trump won here by more than he did in 2020 against Biden.
WRAL's Michelle McConaughey joins us now with the big picture of how voters delivered Trump the victory. Michelle.
Yeah, there were 7 very important swing states in this election, and North Carolina was one of those states that Trump won. You can see it highlighted in red there. His win in Wisconsin earlier this morning, that put him over the top. But he also took Pennsylvania and Georgia. There was record voter turnout in Georgia. And going back to these 2020 election results, I want to show you this on the map. Those are all states that President Joe Biden won in that election. But coming back to what we saw last night here in North Carolina played out in those other states as well. Harris won the urban areas, but the turnout of Democratic voters was not enough to offset the red parts of those states. We are still waiting for results from other battleground states, including Michigan, Arizona, and Nevada. Trump is holding strong leads in all of those states right now. And if Trump does win in all of those states, this is what could happen. He could end up with as many as 312 electoral votes in a landslide victory over Harris. He could also become the first Republican to win the popular vote since George W. Bush back in 2004.
Michelle, thanks. Nationally, election 2024 was good for Republicans. Not only does Donald Trump take back the White House, the GOP is also projected to take back control of the Senate. NBC's Jay Gray reports from the battleground state of Pennsylvania.
Well, the campaign for former, now future President Donald Trump has shifted from a campaign to a transition as he is now President-elect Donald Trump. The 45th president will now be the 47th president in a win that had been billed leading into Election Day as one that would be tightly contested, that these two campaigns were neck and neck going into Election Day, and that we may not know the results of this for several days. I think in any discussion now, the day after, we have to start with the idea and acknowledge that many of those polls, many of the analysts, they missed it this time. They were just wrong. This was a dominant win by Donald Trump, one that saw him take most, if not all, of the battleground states. You know, both campaigns had said that there was no clear path to the White House without a win here in Pennsylvania. He, of course, won this state. He won Georgia, North Carolina as well. And when those 3 swing states were moved to the Trump side of the ledger in the early morning hours, that is when he came out at his victory rally in West Palm Beach, Florida, to talk with supporters.
Every single day I will be fighting for you, and with every breath in my body, I will not rest until we have delivered the strong, safe, and prosperous America that our children deserve and that you deserve.
So again, the president-elect Donald Trump, his vice president-elect J.D. Vance now forming their transition team. We have not heard from Vice President Kamala Harris at this point. She was holding a rally at her alma mater, Howard University in Washington. Did not speak to that crowd last night, but did say that she would address the nation along with President Biden at some point today, sometime this afternoon. Her campaign saying that this will clearly be a difficult speech and one that they believe may be emotional as well. That's the latest from here in Philadelphia. I'm Jay Gray, NBC News.
In addition to learning that the Harris campaign will be, Kamala Harris will be speaking later today, one thing I've also seen on the X social media platform is the topic, "Where is Kamala?" is trending. So it sounds like later this afternoon we'll hear from her. But I do want to show you this video behind me here. This came into the newsroom within the past hour or so, but it was taken hours before. What you see here in this video are Trump supporters outside Trump Tower in New York City, and they are excited. They are waving around flags, wearing "Make America Great Again" shirts, and showing their support for the president-elect. We're watching other bits of video coming from the feed, as well as any other people who are speaking about Kamala Harris in this race. Of course, we'll report the latest here in the WRAL Live Center.
We're also jumping around like that on Wall Street, it appears, as we take a look at stocks this noon. Record highs on the way for the S&P 500 at an all-time high right now as investors try to map out what a Donald Trump White House will look like for the markets. You can see the Dow Jones Industrial Average 1,358 points in positive territory. NASDAQ is up over 400 points right now. S&P 500 in that record territory, up 120 points this noon. Also, the price of Bitcoin, that began soaring early this morning as Donald Trump racked up wins in key swing states. Trump had been presenting himself as a pro-cryptocurrency candidate, and traders are also betting he would weaken regulation. Bitcoin surged to a new record, topping $75,000 at one point with a gain of more than 6%. Other cryptocurrencies also saw huge jumps overnight as the election results became more clear.